What is going on, everyone? Welcome back. I hope you're all having a great Pokemon Go Fest. Today, I'm going to use Shadow Sableye in the Remix Cup. Shadow Sableye is a fantastic neutral Pokemon. It has a lot of plays into the Deoxys defenses that we're seeing a ton nowadays, and it also is a great pick when it comes to just closing potential. It has a lot of fast move pressure, a lot of charge move pressure. The only drawback is it is a little bit slow to get to charge moves. Right now, in the current meta, it seems if you don't get to a move within 10 turns or less, then you're kind of considered slow. So Sableye getting to moves at 12 pacing is a little bit unfortunate, but it pairs very well here with Registeel and Shadow Gligar. Let's see how the battles go and take a look at what Shadow Sableye can do in the Remix Cup. Getting on into game number 1 here, what are we going to see here? Shadow Sableye into a Greedent. This is an awkward lead matchup, one of the very few normal types in the meta, and the thing is, these Greedents have been running Trailblaze recently. That's good, and it's also bad for us. What is good about this is it means I can get to 2 foul plays before they can get to 2 neutral charge moves against us, but the bad thing is they will start ramping up their attack stat. I'll no-shield the first, even if it's a crunch. I wouldn't want to shield the first move just in case they debuff us, but that is a Trailblaze. They do start boosting their attack, and now I know I can get to this next foul play first. Well, it would actually be at the same exact time as them. Foul play and Trailblaze here for the first 3 moves will actually pace evenly, so that means that our Sableye will be in a pretty decent spot to at least get shield advantage. I'm going to no-shield this. There's a chance they bait us, and if they do, I don't want to shield a Body Slam. Looks like they actually get a little bit greedy here. They do throw that Body Slam bait, and now they have to throw back-to-back before I can get to my next foul play. I'll just let my Sableye go, come in with my Registeel, and try to neutralize this Greedent as much as we can. It is boosted in its attack stat, which means it is a little bit uncomfortable for a Registeel, even though we do resist all of the damage from this thing. The first Body Slam does come through. You can see it's not a lot of damage, but if they can get a couple off, that's going to start adding up quickly. I have the Focus Blast almost loaded, but I want to come out of this with as much energy as possible. Registeel, even into its bad matchups, can have a lot of play. As long as you Zap Cannon them, you can get a lot of health off of even like a Gligar, so we want to make sure we have energy coming out of this. We do take 1 more Body Slam than we probably should have. I could have thrown about a turn earlier there if I really wanted to get this Focus Blast off and not take that Body Slam, but it's totally fine. Registeel is still up energy. We have shields, and we want to see what's in the back. Maybe a Registeel counter? Well, apparently not. This is a Shadow Alolan Ninetales, a Fairy and Ice type. Normally have very bad matchups here into the Steel types, but since it is running Charm and we are pretty low, they could probably fast move us down from this point. We'll throw the Zap Cannon, come in with our Shadow Gligar. You might think it's crazy coming into the Ice type with our Ground and Flying type, but just like they came into their Fairy type against my Steel type, we kind of have to make this play. Luckily, they don't have a lot of Ice type pressure immediately here. We did shield up the Ice type charge move, and now we can throw the Dig to neutralize the rest of this Alolan Ninetales. Because they stayed in here, I wanted to overfarm a bit of energy just in case we needed it in the back, and it looks like in the back is going to be a Jellicent. So it's kind of smart that they stayed in with their Alolan Ninetales. They were able to charm us down into range where 1 Surf will knock us out. The most awkward thing about Jellicent into the Shadow Gligar is 1 Surf normally will not be enough, but after that charm damage, we are well within range where we would get knocked out by it. We are almost at the next dig here. We can throw 1 Wing Attack, get it right before they get to their Surf. They have it right now, so as long as this move knocks out, we'll be in a very good spot, and we should take this game against that interesting Greedent lead. Alright, fantastic match there. What are we going to see in the next game? We're going to have our Shadow Sableye into a Shadow Quagsire. So, as I was saying, one of the worst things about Shadow Sableye is the fact that it is a little bit slow getting to charge moves. Quagsire here is the epitome of this matchup. They get to moves after 4 fast attacks. It takes me 6, so they start outpacing me pretty heavily, and it's also critical that I don't get baited or that I shield the Stone Edge if it so happens to get thrown. Luckily here, I do no-shield that Aqua Tail. We don't get knocked out by it, which is pretty nice. They no-shield that Foul Play. That is so rough. They survive on 1 HP. I feel like my Shadow Sableye still might have a little bit of play in the back, so I'm going to shield this move myself, farm them all the way down, and see what they come in with. It's going to be a Fire type. That is a Shadow type Flosion with Incinerate. That is a lot of fast move pressure, and if you realize my backline here, down shields, we're not in a good spot against this Shadow type Flosion. The one good thing is I can safe swap my Shadow Gligar. Now that the Quagsire is out of the way, I'm thinking we might have some play with this thing. We're gonna probably shield this move. Yeah, we shielded this because that Blast Burn would basically knock us out. It would probably one-shot us from full health, honestly. And they must realize how good their Shadow Typhlosion is, because instead of staying in Typhlosion against Gligar, they actually instead swap to their Tentacruel. This is generally a good matchup for Gligar, but now we have to use all of our energy to knock this thing out. This is so bad for us. We still have to get through a shield from this thing. Or do we? I see one way to win this game, and it's not by throwing energy here. It's by going for fast moves. I can get 2 more Shadow Claws if they don't throw an energy or a move against my Sableye here. We do get those 2 Shadow Claws through. Are they in range where 5 Lock-ons are enough to knock out? They throw the Blast Burn. We should survive this. It doesn't one-shot us. 4 Lock-ons need to be up. 1, 2, 3, 4. We get the Lock-on down. We take out the Typhlosion right before that Incinerate registers, and we can take the match against that Typhlosion with our Registeel. Alright, another Steel type here, the Shadow Empoleon this time, but for some reason they instantly swap. That's not really a bad lead for Shadow Empoleon. They can 2-shield through Shadow Sableye if they want to, but they're obviously trying to bait something out in my opinion. They go for the Aerial Ace. It does do a lot of damage. Once again, that kind of speed differential coming into play. They can safe swap their Gligar and still get to a move before I can get to a move on my Sableye, which means it's really easy to chip and dip Sableye if you're kind of weak to it in the lead. Looks like they're going to throw an Aerial Ace against my Gligar here. The good thing about this matchup, though, is since I know that there's that Empoleon in the back, if I get energy on my Gligar and I need to shield this, then I can always throw that Dig against it and always get a shield back. But it looks like instead, I do throw on CMP, it is going to knock out this Gligar, and we have a lot of energy to go into whatever comes in. It's going to be, a Giratina actually. I'm surprised they'd swap out of that lead, especially saying they have Giratina in the back. Sableye generally is pretty strong into that, but now that our Sableye is so low, and the fact they might be able to make a catch here, I mean, I kind of had to throw that move. I'd get fast move down if I didn't, but a very nice catch by them. This could look a little bit awkward. We do have some shield advantage here to work around with, but this could be tricky with how much energy that Giratina was able to store. We survive one Hydro Cannon, and a Focus Blast will easily draw shields from them, but because that Giratina is still lurking in the back, I need to be very careful with what moves I end up shielding. Hydro Cannon does get us below half health. This is a Shadow Empoleon. It does a lot of damage. Focus Blast will come through, likely get shielded, and yeah, they do shield that move. Obviously, they have to keep their Empoleon around. If their Giratina was just their last Pokemon, I could probably fast move them down with Sableye. We do shield up this move. We have to shield something this game, and at this point, I'm going to throw the Focus Blast, and when that Giratina comes in, I'm going to swap to my Sableye, try to fast move them down, and take the game there. Focus Blast will go through, they don't make a catch, and now Sableye will get swapped in, but I'm seeing just how much damage these Shadow Claws could be doing to us here. I know I can just no-shield this move. If they boost, that's fine. I can still get to a Zap Cannon. That way, I'm not going to risk them farming down my Sableye, getting a Shadow Ball against my Registeel. Instead, I'm just going to come in with the guaranteed play, go for the Zap Cannon, and know that I can take the match here. Again, no boost, love to see it. Zap Cannon will be landed against this Giratina, and we should be able to take the match with our Registeel here in the back, taking out one of the hardest answers to it. Good stuff, Reggie. Good stuff, Shadow Sableye as well. Next match here, what are we going to see? It will be our Shadow Sableye into yet another Giratina. All right, well, Giratina in the lead this time. This is much better for us because we know exactly where it is. And they say swap a fairy, but this isn't a conventional fairy. This is a Pokemon here that is not doing a lot of fairy type damage immediately, at least. I'm going to chip this. It might be a really weird chip and dip, but I know that if I come in with my Gligar after that chip damage, I can actually shield once and farm them all the way down here, have energy to go against that Giratina, and start chipping down whatever they're going to have. I also know that if they're safe swapping Clefable, there is a high chance they are trying to bait out my Registeel. That's why I don't instantly come in with it. If they have a Giratina lead, they safe swap a Clefable, that almost certainly means Registeel is going to be very strong in the back. We get the full farm down. We have 2 digs loaded here. Throw the first dig. It is a Tapu Fini that comes in, so technically I guess Registeel does have a lot more play in the back than Gligar would, but it's not exactly what I was expecting. I was thinking maybe more like an A9 in the back, but this is perfectly fine for us. These 2 digs will go through. We have one that got shielded as well, so even though we went down a shield, we got a shield back, and Sableye will be able to be lined up here against the Giratina when they come back in. This means that we can get to these 2 foul plays before they can get to 2 ominous wins. Sableye should be able to win CMP here basically any day of the week, unless it's like the most attack-weighted Giratina I've ever seen. Luckily, we are at the 2 moves. As long as they don't have a whole bunch of attack here on their Sableye, or on their Giratina rather, our Sableye should be able to win this CMP. Looks like we do. Good stuff. I was a little bit worried in the moment because, Giratina, you can't be picky with your IVs. If you happen to get a high attack one, that's your only one, maybe you'd still use it. But they do get a nice farm down with Fini. This is a little bit scary. If they can get to 3 surfs, that could do a lot of damage to our Registeel. We are energy dry almost here on Reggie, so we don't have a move loaded just yet. We're going to try to go for the Focus Blast, so they're well within Focus Blast range. We'll get the Blast first before we'll get to the Zap Cannon, and what this means is we can take the game here with Registeel in the back against a very favorable lead with our Shadow Sableye. GG's to them. Let's see what our next match is going to have in store. Our next game here, Shadow Sableye into a Deoxys defense. Fantastic lead, fantastic safe swap for us as well. Mandibuzz safe swap is a little bit wild, in my opinion, in a Carbink meta, but we don't have a Carbink here. We have a Registeel, which will still do a very good job at neutralizing this Mandibuzz. We'll go for Zap Cannons, try to lower their attack as much as possible, and at this point I know that Shadow Gligar, even if I don't get switch advantage this game somehow, if they try to double shield through this matchup, I can probably just sweep with my Gligar and have a lot of play there in the back. What's it going to do? Is it going to try to double shield through us? Is it going to just try to let this go and farm us down with Deoxys? We'll just have to wait and see here. Dark Pulse does land. It does a lot of damage, but we still survive 2 more at this point, which is good because they do get to yet another one here. This Dark Pulse will put us pretty low, probably into the red at this point, but at this point, I think we still survive another move. Go for the Zap Cannon just in case they happen to shield this up. We can get a debuff. Go for a full undercharge here. If they did end up no-shielding that, I could lock on down and have energy to go against that Deoxys, but since they did shield it, I'm going to no-shield this. I know after these debuffs, I still survive this move. I'm very likely going to be able to get this next Zap Cannon off, either take switch and shield advantage, or just 2 shields for nothing. If they shield this up, I'm going to be very happy. Gligar probably does just sweep the back line here. They snarl us all the way down, but our Sableye can come in here, and since they didn't throw any energy, I might as well just throw this move. I know they're triple debuffed, but at this point, I just don't want to take chip damage if I can help it. If it is a Carbink in the back, I probably just sweep here with my Gligar. If it's anything else, I'm going to have a lot of play with Sableye. It was a Carbink, but they realized 2 shield on Gligar is not going to be too easy to beat in the back, and we can take the match. Alright, next game, a Carbink lead. So instead of having our Carbink in a good spot, we're going to have it in probably the worst spot imaginable. Sableye does not like to see this Carbink, but the thing is, most Carbink teams are going to have things like Poliwrath, maybe double Razor Leaf in the back, so Shadow Gligar and Registeel in the back will have a lot of play. They are staying in here. They're throwing a move. I'm going to shield this up because I know that this is going to do a lot of damage. If it is a team with a lot of fast move pressure with the Razor Leafers, I don't want to be in a position where I don't shield any moves this game. And they do come in with a Tropius, so it's not a Razor Leafer, but it is a Grass type nonetheless. Since they come in with a Grass type into our Flyer, I think you guys all know what that means is in the back. It is going to be a Shadow Victory Bell, almost certainly, no doubt about it. We're going to go for our Aerial Aces. They try to make a nice catch on our Dig, but since we didn't throw the move immediately, we're able to throw these Aerial Aces here instead into this Tropius. I'm going to no-shield this. I know I can get a nice farm down with my Sableye, and because they didn't ever shield a move on their Carbink, if I can get a Foul Play, or a Power Gem rather, into that Carbink, it's probably low enough at this point our Sableye can deal with it. We'll get a nice farm down. Leaf Blade does do a lot of damage, but if it is going to be that Victory Bell in the back, we want to have energy on our Registeel. So instead of farming it all the way down there, we get energy on both of our remaining Pokemon. They will Leaf Blade us. It'll do a decent chunk of damage, but nowhere near enough to put us in range where Victory Bell can knock us out. They only have resisted fast move damage at this point. They have Air Slash on Tropius, Razor Leaf here, and Rock Throw on Carbink, and I am very lucky I do get that first attack drop. I guess I'm not very lucky. It's more likely than not, but sometimes when using Registeel, it feels like it is all luck to get these Zap Cannon debuffs. And speaking of luck, they go for Leaf Tornado. They're not even Acid Spray, not even Leaf Blade. Leaf Tornado has a 50% chance to drop my attack by 50%. Very lucky I did not get that debuff there. And since they are staying in this matchup, I know now I can come into my Sableye. I have the move stored. I'm just going to guarantee I can knock this thing out because Registeel normally is a little bit awkward to take out the Victory Bell. I need 2 charge moves, or I can just use the charge move here on my Sableye. At this point, Carbink does come back in. I try to reach for the Power Gem because I know a Foul Play wouldn't have knocked out just yet, and I also know that even if I don't get it, as long as a catch doesn't happen here, I can just farm this all the way down, or I can throw a move at this, I can farm the Tropius down, and then throw a move at the Carbink and take the game with our Registeel in the back. Very tricky lead, Carbink into Shadow Sableye. Fortunately though, our Registeel, our Gligar backline was very strong into it. That's kind of the thing with these Carbink teams. They don't have a huge answer for Gligar a lot of the time, so that means that if we do safe swap it, you don't have to worry about such a bad matchup like Sableye into Carbink. Alright, a bit of an awkward lead. We were talking about how we get heavily outpaced here in matchups like this. Once again, I have to make the call whether or not they're going to go for Aqua Tail or Stone Edge. For some reason here, they don't even bait it though. They just go straight for the Aqua Tail. We easily survive this, and we can get to a Foul Play here very soon. I'm going to throw it right on CMP, or a potential CMP. Looks like they didn't throw their energy. They knew they'd lose that CMP anyway, so they're just going to overfarm a little bit, get the Foul Play through. It doesn't quite knock them out, but since I know that most Quagsire don't run Mud Bomb, I'm going to catch the move here. I can get a nice lock-on down against this, and it should put me in a decent spot. But they do come in with a Shadow Gligar. This is a little bit awkward, because Shadow Gligar is another very hard answer to Registeel. Sometimes Reggie has a lot of play and it's triple countering their team. Sometimes they triple counter Registeel of their own, and it's very tricky for us to have play. Luckily though, they do let us get the first move off. They didn't have to do that. They're very kind. I get the debuff as well, which means this dig is not going to knock us out. It's also going to mean that they're going to have to throw a second move if they want to knock us out. They can't fast move us down very easily with Wing Attack. They also do let us get to another Focus Blast here, so our opponent trying to leverage advantage with Gligar, but they're going to lose a shield in this matchup. They'll probably still have to throw an Aerial Ace here if they want to knock us out before we get the next move. Looks like they do throw their move. They might have been able to get the farm down, but it would be very risky for them. Aerial Ace does knock us out, and at this point, it is a little bit of an iffy backline. We don't know what their third is, but we do have energy on our Sableye. They make a huge catch on their Quagsire, fantastic catch by them, and this makes everything so much more difficult. Are we going to see their third come in? Are we going to see that Gligar with so much energy come back in? What is going to be brought in by our opponent? Looks like it is a Registeel. I guess they kind of do have to bring it in at some point this game, right? It's not going to have a great matchup into either of my two Pokemon at this point, down shields. My Sableye also has so much energy left on it that I think we're in a pretty good spot. This Registeel only has resisted moves to throw at me. I can no-shield this. I know that Shadow Gligar is absolutely loaded. If I can ever get a move off against this here with my Gligar, I probably just sweep the game with Shadow Sableye. The dig does come through. It will land, but we did get debuffed. Probably doesn't matter. At this point, it's still going to be in range where Foul Play will knock them out. We can swap to Sableye, build up energy here, shield up one move, and then at this point, I think I just Shadow Claw this all the way down, right? I know that if they're at back-to-back moves, it takes them 3 more Wing Attacks to get to that third Aerial Ace. So I know for sure, even if I didn't know my counts, I can just farm this all the way down, and we can get the Shadow Claw down, Foul Play the Reggie, and take the game with our Shadow Sableye in the back. Foul Play is going to do a lot of damage. Registeel with no fast move pressure makes it so awkward against these low health Pokemon. Foul Play will eventually come through here and take the knockout against the Registeel. Alright, GG's to them. I love Shadow Sableye here when it has a lot of play into teams. It was kind of like triple neutral into that lineup, so had a lot of play into that team. Alright, bit of an awkward lead here in the next match. Shadow Sableye into Poliwrath, but our opponent actually ends up instantly swapping to Shadow Steelix. When you see someone swap out of a neutral lead, you have to expect that they are trying to bait something out. Steelix generally can bait out the fighters, it can bait out the Mudboys, and it can bait out the Registeel. So are they trying to bait out Reggie, or are they trying to bait out something else? Either way, we kind of have to come into this matchup because this is our best answer to Shadow Steelix, and we want to keep advantage in our favor. We will no-shield the first move. It could have been an Earthquake. Most Shadow Steelix, though, they do not run Earthquake. We no-shield the Psychic Fangs, and we no-shield the Crunch. At this point, we're not going to give that Poliwrath too much of a farm down, but that nice undercharge there means we'll get a full lock-on down. We'll be able to Zap Cannon this Poly and get a lot of advantage from our Registeel here. We'll throw out the very last second. Zap Cannon can debuff your opponent's attack, and if you debuff them too early, they can get a lot more energy from that matchup and leverage it into our Sableye. So by throwing that Zap Cannon at the last second, we get them as few counters as possible. I don't think we actually did get the attack drop, unfortunately, but here we're going to farm this all the way down, have energy to go against the backline. Luckily that Icy Wind doesn't do too much damage, and we see that the third is a Shadow Typhlosion. This is a very neutral matchup into both our Sableye and our Gligar, but since we have energy lead, there's no way this thing can tear through both our Sableye and our Gligar at this point. We can shield any move they throw. We can get to 2 Aerial Aces now. They probably realize that they might no-shield this, they might shield it to try to play it out. Let's see what happens. They do end up no-shielding Shadow Gligar in the back, able to clutch out a bit of a tough lead. Looks like they were trying to bait out a Mudboy that game, so happy we were able to close out that with our Shadow Gligar. Alright, another interesting lead here, the Shadow Steelix. Not the best lead for us. They can run Crunch, they can also run Psychic Fangs, right? Or Earthquake, potentially. I've also seen a Heavy Slam one recently, so the movesets on Steelix definitely up in the air a little bit. But with that said, I think Crunch is the most likely move for them to throw right now. I'm going to shield this up. It's a bit of a risky shield. If they do bait us, that's a terrible shield, but it looks like we do call the move properly. And now we can get to another foul play here very soon and either take a shield from them or knock them out or realize they were waiting a turn there. They were trying to make a nice catch on their Poliwrath. We saw it coming a mile away, though. We didn't see that next Dragon Tail come through, so we can swap immediately to our Gligar here, get the knockout against this Poliwrath, or just to almost get the knockout. And since they let their Poliwrath get so low, I can farm this down now with our Registeel and be in a great spot against that Steelix. Since that Steelix does have a bit of energy, it could be a little bit uncomfortable for us, but I still think our Shadow Sableye, with so much energy, and our Registeel up energy here, should have a lot of play into the backline. What is it going to be? Maybe a Gligar, maybe something that's like a hard answer to Registeel. What will come in? It's going to be that Steelix, actually. Interesting they come back in with this. We already saw that they're running Crunch, so I'm almost certain they're not running Crunch and Earthquake. If they are, that is the most bizarre moveset I've ever seen. We'll see what's going to happen here. They show this move. I have a move on my Sableye. I try to combo play, but they expect it. They come in with their Mantine. They're fantastic play by them. With that said, I think we still just win this game, right? We have so much energy on our Sableye. We can get to a foul play or a power jump to knock them out. They realize it's a game over, even with that nice call by them, and we can take the match. Alright, Goodra lead. A little bit of a neutral matchup here. Sableye can win CMP, but Goodra in the 2-shield does farm us all the way down, so that can be a little bit uncomfortable for us. First foul play will come through. It'll do a lot of damage if it goes no-shielded. I'm assuming they'll probably just shield this move, and yeah, they do, obviously. They don't want to get fast move down themselves, and if we can take both shields here, then maybe our Registeel and our Gligar in the back will be able to put in a lot of work. We'll shield up this move, we have the next foul play, and we can throw it immediately here. If we don't throw it immediately, there's a chance they'll just throw the Aqua Tail and take our second shield first, and now that we've taken both of their shields or taken switch advantage, I'm just going to let my Sableye go, absorb all of the energy with our Registeel, and hopefully Gligar in the back is going to have a lot of play. The damage from these Dragon Breaths will add up quite a bit. Aqua Tail as well will chip us down, but no one move is going to do a lot of damage to us, so we'll try to absorb as much damage as we can on our Registeel. They're throwing yet another move here. If they throw another one, then I'll actually swap into my Gligar, because I know they won't get to a fourth Aqua Tail in the back here, and see what they want to do. They get to yet another move. I didn't want to CMP them, that would be a bit awkward, and I also think this energy in the back could be very useful. Now I come in with my Shadow Gligar, as I said, try to go for the farm down. They do swap, though, to a Tapu Fini, one of the best answers here to the Shadow Gligar. One good thing, though, is Shadow Gligar, if you throw the dig and you have one shield, if the dig lands, you just fast move them all the way down here. So I'm going to shield once, fast move farm them all the way down. If the Goodra comes back in, try to go for the wing attacks. If anything else comes in, play it by ear, see if I need to aerial ace them or if I need to throw a dig. Keep in mind, we also have a ton of energy on our Registeel, so as long as we have something in the back that gets knocked out by both a dig and a Focus Blast or a Zap Cannon, we probably do win this game, and most things in the meta probably would get knocked out by that much damage. The Goodra does come back in, we get the fast move down, and what's going to come in? I guess nothing. We will have no idea what it's going to be in the back, but we can take the game against that uncomfortable lead matchup. Speaking of uncomfortable matchups, though, the Shadow Sableye into the Carbink, a terrible lead for us, but normally when you see this Carbink, once again, we'll have a lot of play with our Shadow Gligar and our Registeel in the back. Maybe there's a Poliwrath, maybe it's double grass. Either way, it looks like our Gligar is having a lot of play here. We land a Dig, and once we land that Dig, Shadow Sableye should be able to have some sort of play here into this Carbink later on if we happen to be locked into that matchup. We'll shield with the Rock Slide, because if they're staying in here, I feel like our Gligar will be useful, and it looks like this time a Razor Leaf Tropius comes in. If we see one Razor Leafer, another one is very close behind, so we know at this point we need to strip shields, do as much damage as we can to this, and looks like we actually get a CMP tie here. This is great for us. If they end up shielding this, we can just let our Gligar go, farm this down with Sableye, and have energy lead on both Sableye and Registeel in the back. This move will come through. They did shield up that Aerially, so that's fantastic for us. We can get a full farm down here, or maybe do a play like last time and try to farm down with Reggie. It depends on how I am feeling and playing out the matchup here. Looks like this time we do just go straight for the Shadow Claw farm down, and if that Carbink comes in, we have so much energy at this point, we can just start throwing moves into that. What's going to come in here? It will be that Carbink. Obviously, Carbink is one of the strongest answers here to the Shadow Sableye, so they probably do want to come in. The Power Gem will do a lot of damage if they happen to no-shield it. It puts them into range where I can Shadow Claw them down, and I have a Foul Play loaded. If they end up no-shielding this move, I can probably just get the 2 charge moves pretty easily with Reggie. I mean, either way, I do need 2 more charge moves with Registeel. What is going to happen here? Looks like they shielded that Foul Play. It probably would one-shot them, so it makes sense to shield up that move. But here, Registeel is in a great matchup. We can go for a Zap Cannon, try to get a debuff. It doesn't really matter if we get it or not, because Registeel resists every move that this Victory Bell can have. Zap Cannon does land. We also will be able to survive whatever they throw, but there's no reason not to just shield this up. What's it going to be? Another Leaf Tornado Victory Bell. All right, well, I mean, that's not really going to help them out here, but yeah, they realize that they top left. We get to that Focus Blast pretty easily, and we take the match. Alright, fantastic lead here in the next match. The Shadow Sableye into the Deoxys defense. The only problem here is they have a Sableye of their own as a safe swap. This means we don't have a hard answer to it. We can try to ship them down here with our own Sableye, then come in Gligar and neutralize this as much as we can. If they do build up to a return, which they are doing, we can shield this move, try to respect it a little bit, and then throw energy if they try to get to another return. If they throw any energy anytime soon, I'll know for sure this is a foul play. I can no-shield it. I'll survive it pretty easily because they're a non-Shadow Sableye. It won't do that much damage to us. It will build up enough energy here to go to 2 Aerialises. They basically can't shield this move, because if they do, we'll just throw back-to-back, take switch, and shield advantage. So they do end up letting this go. The Deoxys probably will come back in. They'll try to counter us down here, but I think we can get to 2 digs. They'll be very close, but if we can, we might either knock out this Deoxys or take that second shield. We do throw this dig. It does land. I think that next dig will either take them out or put them very low here. Dig will come through. Are they going to shield it? Or are they going to let it go? They actually end up shielding it. Okay, so we do get switch and shield advantage, but there could be things in the back that are a little bit troublesome. They have a lot of energy. Shadow Sableye is pretty squishy, so I will shield this move up. We will go for whatever we can here to keep our Sableye alive. And then in comes the Shadow Quagsire. This is a little bit tricky. I don't agree with throwing this move in hindsight. I think just instantly swapping my Registeel might have been the better play. Focus Blast would basically one-shot them. Throwing all of my energy there, taking fast move pressure, is going to make our Sableye very low, and now swapping in our Deoxys, or our Registeel rather, will open up that Deoxys to get a full counter down against us, put us in a very bad spot. I might have found a way to lose this game. We'll just have to see how it's going to play out. Aqua Tail does come through. We can survive 3 of these pretty easily at this point, but we are in a very precarious position. We can't throw energy, but we also have to throw energy. We need to knock out this Quagsire before they can swap out. They stop tapping because they want to have enough health to farm down my Registeel here with their Deoxys defense. I knew they could swap at some point. I think throwing this move as well is a mistake. Now they can farm me down with Deoxys, get so many counters, and I threw all of my energy away with my Sableye. They can likely get to a Thunderbolt here and take the match with their Deoxys in the back. I don't know how many misplays I had to make there at the end of the game to lose it. I see so many win conditions now, but in the moment, sometimes when you have such a good matchup in the lead, in the swap, you kind of just fumble in the back. So a bit of a mistake by me. Sometimes you have to show those games too, though, right? Hopefully this time we don't throw this lead. It is another Deoxys into our Shadow Sableye, but another tricky safe swap for us to try to deal with. This Violet here is going to have a lot of fast move pressure with these Dragon Breaths. The Dark Pulses as well would do a lot of damage, so if I can shield them up properly, I know I can keep switch advantage. But if I no-shield one, or if they bait me, this might be very precarious. We do properly shield the first Dark Pulse. We go for the Focus Blast. Are they going to want to shield themselves, or are they not going to? Looks like we do get a shield from them. That's pretty good for us. I was hoping that when I saw Dragon and Dark, this was a Guzzlord. Guzzlord is a much more comfortable matchup for Registeel, but this Violet is putting in a lot of work against us. We shield up the second Dark Pulse properly. At this point, we have guaranteed switch advantage in our favor. We can go for this Focus Blast. Very likely they are going to no-shield this, and since I feel like they're trying to bait out something like a Registeel, I'm going to keep my Reggie for the back, safe swap my Shadow Gligar here, because I know Gligar also has a very strong matchup here into Deoxys defense. We have our Registeel. We'll have a lot of energy on Gligar. Are they running Rock Slide? Is it going to be Psycho Boost? What is it going to be here? Looks like they are going to be running that Rock Slide moveset, so they don't have to debuff their attack to get a lot of damage onto us. This time it probably will be the Psycho Boost, but we still have a lot of energy loaded here on our Gligar. We're getting in range, though, where we can probably go for an Aerialise. get up to back-to-back air releases again, and maybe have a move to threaten whatever is going to be in the back. They haven't swapped out, so either it's very good against Sableye or it's very bad against Gligar. Very hard to tell exactly what it's going to actually be. We have the back-to-back air release here, and what is it going to be in the back? We're going to throw the blind air release. There's no way I get to a dig against anything. That is a Whimsicott. Fantastic news is I do have this move. But the bad news is that I do have no shields left over here. What this means is this Whimsicott will be able to take out our Sableye. It can get the Moonblast, but we CMP them, and since we saved our Registeel, we have so much energy left over there. We can easily get to a move. They have to expend all of their energy here. If they didn't throw this move right now, I just fast move them down, so they're forced to throw right now. They have no energy left over. Registeel should be able to get to this Focus Blast, or even the Zap Cannon at this point, and knock them out, taking the game against yet another Deoxys defense lead. Luckily this time, we were not able to throw the match like last time. Shadow Sableye was a ton of fun to use today. It is a little clunky being as slow as it is, but overall a very fun and flexible pick as long as you're avoiding those Carbinks. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching today's video. I stream Pokemon Go PvP nearly every day at twitch.tv/itzaxton, so if you want to see this kind of content live, make sure to check me out there. I'm also going to upload a lot more videos to the channel, so subscribe here if you want to see more content. Thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.